1998, Swift Creek, Alaska. Barry Clay picked up something heavy from turned dirt, without a lab or a spectrometer. Just his hands and the unmistakable weight of dense metal. 294 troy ounces of 21-karat gold. The Alaska Centennial Nugget, $750,000. He identified it by density alone. 5 tools, $87 total, will train your hands to do exactly what his did. It was 1848, and thousands of prospectors flooding California were making the same catastrophic mistake over and over. Roughly 1/3 of all miners during the gold rush shipped pyrite as if it were gold. Total financial ruin for hundreds of families. Martin Frobisher made the same mistake 3 centuries earlier, sending 10,000 tons of worthless sulfide from Baffin Island to England. Both disasters shared the same 3-second solution sitting in a geology kit that cost less than a meal. The equipment catalogs will try to sell you a $4,000 handheld XRF with a touchscreen and Bluetooth. But the real work, the reliable field identification that has separated professionals from amateurs for over a century, happens with 5 tools you can buy online for $87 combined. I have carried them from the Carlin-type gold deposits in Nevada's Popovich Formation to the orogenic quartz veins of the Bridge River Gold Belt in British Columbia. They have never failed me. The first tool is an $8 streak plate from Eisco Labs, a square of unglazed white porcelain, about 2 inches across, rough to the touch. The principle is simple. Hardness determines whether a mineral leaves a powder mark when dragged across an abrasive surface. The color of that powder is diagnostic. I hold the suspect mineral firmly between my thumb and forefinger, press it against the white tile with moderate downward pressure, and drag it about an inch. Gold leaves a metallic yellow smear every single time, no exceptions. Pyrite, the mineral that has fooled prospectors for 500 years straight, leaves greenish black. Hematite, which often looks silver or black in the pan, leaves blood red. Chalcopyrite, another common imposter in sulfide-bearing quartz veins, leaves greenish black, but slightly different from pyrite if you compare side by side. 3 seconds. Shirt pocket, $8. I have pulled crystalline specimens from alluvial gravels in Pershing County, Nevada, certain I had gold, and the streak told me otherwise in the time it takes to blink. Zero ambiguity in the result. The powder color cannot lie because it strips away surface tarnish and weathering and shows you the true mineral beneath. A $4,000 portable XRF cannot beat it for speed on a go or no-go field decision. This is where the identification problem takes a turn nobody expected. Because the most dangerous misidentifications in the field are not actually about color. They are about weight, and weight requires a completely different tool. The second tool is a $12 Fuzion digital pocket scale, accurate to 1/100th of a gram. With a small blue glow display you can read in pre-dawn light. The specific gravity test is the single most reliable separator between gold and everything that mimics it. Here's how you run it. Weigh the suspect stone dry on the scale. Record that number. Fill a clear glass with water. Place it on the scale and tear to 0. Now, suspend your stone in the water using a thin wire or a bent paperclip, making absolutely certain it does not touch the sides or the bottom of the glass. Record the new reading, which represents the weight of water displaced. Divide the dry weight by that displacement number. Your result is the specific gravity. Gold reads 19.3, pyrite reads 5.0, quartz reads 2.65, galena reads 7.5. There is zero overlap between any of these minerals. None. I have run this test standing in the 40-mile river drainage near Chicken, Alaska, with numb fingers and rain coming down sideways. And the numbers still came back clean and decisive. Density does not care about your conditions. It does not care about surface weathering or patina or the lighting. It just tells the truth. A $2,000 refractometer measures optical properties, which matter in a gem lab. But in a cold creek at dawn, density is what decides whether you keep digging or walk away. The third tool costs $15 and reveals entire ore bodies that are completely invisible in daylight. A shortwave UV flashlight, true 254 nanometer output with a ZWB3 filter, pocket-sized, USB rechargeable. You must wear UV blocking safety glasses every time, because shortwave ultraviolet will burn your corneas without them, no exceptions. At dusk, or under a shaded overhang, where the darkness is thick, I hold the beam about 2 inches from the rock face and scan slowly. Scheelite, the primary tungsten ore that often rides alongside gold in quartz veins, glows electric blue, white against the dark. Autunite, a uranium phosphate from granitic pegmatites like those at Bausch Mountain in Alaska, lights up yellow-green. Calcite glows red. Willemite glows bright green. The first time I watched an entire outcrop come alive under that beam in the Nevada Ruby Mountains, I genuinely thought someone had painted the cliff face with glow-in-the-dark paint. Ore bodies that thousands of hikers walked past for decades, glowing right there on the surface, invisible until that moment. An $800 professional mineralogical lamp from a lab supply catalog does the same job with a bigger housing and a heavier battery. This one charges by USB and fits in your back pocket. If you want exact field coordinates and the specific tools I carry in the dirt, subscribe now. While all of this was happening in the fluorescence world, I realized there was a critical gap in my close-range identification that no amount of UV testing or streak testing could fill. Crystal structure, internal features, the geology that lives below the surface of the specimen. Invisible to the naked eye, but screaming information under magnification. The fourth tool is a $22 Bausch and Lomb Hastings triplet hand lens, 10 times magnification. The word triplet matters. A triplet lens uses 3 cemented elements to correct for the chromatic aberration and edge distortion that makes cheap doublet lenses nearly useless for serious inclusion mapping. I hold the lens close to my dominant eye and bring the specimen up slowly until it snaps into sharp focus at roughly 1 inch of working distance. Under 10 times magnification, I can see fluid inclusions in quartz, tiny trapped liquid pockets that formed when the vein crystallized millions of years ago. I can read crystal habit, cleavage planes, and the surface textures that tell me whether a quartz vein has been through hydrothermal alteration or simple weathering. In the Brawlorn Mine District of the Bridge River Gold Belt, prospectors in the 1980s used streak plates and hand lenses as their primary field tools. That was standard professional practice. Under the loupe, I have personally seen sericite flaking along grain edges in altered wall rock, vuggy and sugary textures in recrystallized quartz, and iron oxide staining that marks the exact path of gold-bearing fluids through epithermal veins near Tonopah, Nevada. A $1,200 stereo microscope lives in a climate-controlled lab. This lives in your shirt pocket and works in rain, in dust, and in total silence. In 7 years of fieldwork, I have watched experienced prospectors lose fine gold at the final cleanup step. Not because they could not find it, because their separation technique destroyed the recovery they spent hours building. The fifth tool solves that problem for $30. A neodymium magnet, N52 grade, from K&J Magnetics or CMS Magnetics, mounted on a wooden dowel for handling. 40 pounds of pull force, strongest commercially available grade. I slip the magnet into a clear plastic bag before every use for easy cleaning. In the bottom of a steel gold pan, after hours of careful panning, black sand concentrates are mostly magnetite, but not all of it. Some of that dark material is ilmenite or chromite, which respond weakly or not at all to magnetic force. And critically, some of that magnetite carries fine gold physically bonded to it through surface tension, Gold so small you cannot see it with the naked eye. Hover the bagged magnet slowly over your concentrates. Magnetite jumps to it in a clean ribbon of jet black sand, separating from the non-magnetic fraction below. Pull the magnet out of the bag. The magnetite drops off cleanly into a discard pile. Your fine gold, your ilmenite, your chromite, everything non-magnetic stays behind in the pan, concentrated and ready for final recovery. A $2 refrigerator magnet either pulls everything indiscriminately or barely grabs anything at all. The N52 discriminates with precision. That single distinction is what separates a clean recovery from a lost one. 5 tools, $87, a streak plate, a pocket scale, an ultraviolet flashlight, a triplet loupe, and a magnet. Barry Clay did not need a lab at Swift Creek. The weight told him before anything else could. In 1576, one streak plate would have saved England a decade and 10,000 tons of worthless rock. These tools sit in the field kit of every working geologist who has ever made a real find. The gravel bars and scarred ridgelines that produced those finds are still out there, on public land, waiting. The question is whether you show up with $87 of knowledge or $5,000 of noise.